We can start. So, welcome everyone. It's my honor to open this session today. I'm Federa Francocci from the National Research Council of Italy. I'm working on the blue economy, and this is today why I'm here and working and discussing with you about fisheries and European standards. So, as you know, from the ocean and seas comes many resources, and the global planet health, it's really dependent on these resources. So we will unravel today with our speakers how to promote a sustainable vision for fishery and in future. So I will give the floor to Mr. Eugenio Sgro, that is coordinating the partnership from between Europe and Middle Asia. So welcome, Mr. Sgro. The floor is yours.
Buongiorno. Good morning. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. And this is my first time that I attend participate at the Festival of Diplomacy, and I wish to thank the Secretary Generale Bartolomucci for his kind invitation to attend this meeting and to give me a chance to address a few words to this distinguished audience today. And also have a chance to introduce myself. I'm a career diplomat, and I've been appointed recently as the new Italy's focal point for Indian Ocean Rim Association. Why this this appointment? Because Italy has been since 2019 a dialogue partner of these international organizations. Why we decided, we chose, and we wanted to become a dialogue partner of this organization, because Italy as a Mediterranean and maritime country looks at the Indian Ocean region with great interest. And in our view, Indian Ocean and Mediterranean are two interconnected spaces, and challenges as well as opportunities arising in one region depends on dynamics that are rooted into the other and vice versa. So Italy has tried to increase its presence in this region, in the Indian Ocean region, primarily by developing its partnership with multilateral fora, and starting with the IUU, Indian Ocean Rim Association. In those areas which represents all the priority of these organizations. And I mean to refer to maritime safety and security, to trade opportunities, to blue economy, to fisheries management, to women empowerment, and tourism, of course, not to forget. And why we're doing this? Because we think that it's the only way we can pursue through our commitment in these areas to give a contribution to the promotion of a sustainable growth and a balanced development among members of these organizations in the Indian Ocean region. And the promotion of sustainable fisheries management, of sustainable fisheries development, have always been one of the key issues on which we have focused our efforts in our capacity as a dialogue partner of IUU, Indian Ocean Rim Association. And the blue economy sector has taken a heavy toll from the pandemic, with the severe consequences for the socioeconomic situation of coastal communities. And this is the reason why we chose to give priority attention to issues such as the development of sustainable fisheries development and management. But our ultimate goal is to establish what we may call a blue campus, with the aim to accompany and promote the necessary upgrading of the human heritage on the coasts of the Indian Ocean countries. And in this context, we will continue to work with the Indian Ocean Rim Association and its member states on programs related to sustainable development of coastal communities, and especially fishing, aquaculture, building on what we accomplished in the past years and expanding the scope of our initiative, which is the one, as I mentioned before, we share with all the community, international community, the promotion of a sustainable growth and a balanced development in this area. And with all this background, we also look at the outcome of these meetings, and we thank the Festival of Diplomacy for having given us a chance also to enlarge, I would say, our partnership with several stakeholders, both in Italy and abroad, in order to pursue our mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Skra. And now I will ask Laurence Martin to take the floor, and just, she's our host, the Secretary General from Federazione del Mare, and please.
Thank you to you. I will just take 1 minute, really, just 1 minute of your time, because I know that this morning you have a very thick agenda and that you will do very important issue. I just wanted, on behalf of the President of the Federazione del Mare, the Italian Maritime Cluster, Mario Mattioli, to welcome you in these magnificent rooms of Palazzo Colonna, headquarters of the Italian Shipowners Association, Confitarma, and also of the Italian Maritime Cluster Federazione del Mare. And I think what a more, let's say, indicated location that the House of the Maritime Industry to talk about fisheries and the European Union legislation with one of our most distinguished members, that is Federpesca. So thank you all for participating in presence and remotely. I suppose you are quite numerous to this round table. That is part of the 13th edition of Diplomacy. Diplomacy that this year again has, let's say, was very successful to arrange more than 100 events around the city over this 9 days conference. Today is the last day of this remarkable, let's say, 13 editions. So thank you to Giorgio Bartolomucci and to his very efficient team that has been able to manage once again this edition. We are very proud to be part since the very beginning of this, let's say, event, Festival della Diplomacy, and we very much hope in the future to be there again. So let me recall all of you that this event, the streaming contents of this roundtable is being broadcasted live on the Diplo channel and on the YouTube channel of the festival. So this morning, just a few words, and I give you the floor on Federazione del Mare. That's, for those who don't know, has been created in 1994, and which constitutes the Italian maritime cluster that aims, as all the maritime clusters in Europe, that are grouped within the European network of maritime cluster, to give, let's say, a unified representation of the country's maritime world, to affirm, let's say, the commonality of values, culture, and interest. So the subject of this morning is of utmost importance. So I wish you all a good meeting, and we hope to be to welcome you back within soon here in Federazione del Mare. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laurence. Thank you indeed. And so thanks for setting the scene and gave us the vision. Now go more deeply into discussion, and I will give the floor to Nicola Procaccini, the European deputy that is responsible and member of the ASEAN and IORA Commission. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Posso fare questo? Yes, good morning to everybody. First of all, I wish to thank the organization and especially Giorgio Bartolomucci for inviting me in such a beautiful place and in a very important event like the Festival of Diplomacy. Many are the challenges to face for stakeholders, operators, and consumers, and for all the ones who cares the environment, and so, what the message that I would like to give you today is that sustainability of the marine environment and of fish stocks must be pursued through an approach that takes all factors into due consideration. Fishing activity should not be held mistakenly as the only culprit for critical sea conditions. Other aspects, such as land-based pollution, climate change, and the interaction with adverse conditions in the marine environment must be considered. A sustainable marine environment entails sustainable fishing activities for which operators must be adequately supported and not just stopped when the resource is deemed to be endangered. Today, you know, fish consumption has reached the unprecedented levels. The exploitation of fish resource is subject to stringent regulations and is subject to a precise allocation of available quotas to which operators are obligated to adhere, sometimes with considerable economic and commercial repercussions. In this context, a more direct involvement of the operators is essential, as they are the true connoisseurs of the state of the resource and are able to actively contribute to the compilation of the scientific data that from the basis of fishing regulations. This is also due to changing eating habits that are sometimes dictated by real food trends. Stocks are undoubtedly overexploited as we are accustomed to consuming only certain species, excluding from the market others that, unfortunately, due to their lack of attractiveness, fail to enter the market and are therefore considered as a minor economic and food resource. Let me say also that it is essential to strengthen the traceability of important products with the strengthening of existing controls and regulations. Sometimes this happens, it's the time. No, despite the time, no. It's working. Okay. Yeah, okay, it's working.
It was mine.
No, it's okay, don't worry. Don't worry. I was telling you that at the same time, stricter regulation is needed to label and make the fish code in our seas more recognizable, so as not to create confusion for consumers with negative repercussions on competition. At the end of my statement, I would like to tell you some issues, maybe more politics, but I think really important. The issue of the ecological sustainability of fishing cannot be addressed without taking into due consideration the crisis of fishing industry in Italy and in Europe. For many years, we have witnessed a steady decrease in the fishing fleet at the sea in the Mediterranean. You will agree with me that if fishing were so comfortable and so profitable, we would see the exact opposite, an increase in operators and vessels. Unfortunately, this is not the case. And this is not the case for many reasons. The increase in production cost, especially the fuel, especially the diesel, the unfair, sometimes unscrupulous competition from non-EU fleets in the EU fishing grounds, the complex system of increasingly restrictive rules that affects the activities for our fishermen, but only our fishermen, not those from the North Africa, for example. And thus the increasing penetration on the domestic market of fish caught outside the EU. An unfortunate remark by an EU official that I remember very well and that still echoes in Brussels. He said, if I have to choose between saving the fish or the fisherman, I prefer to save the fish. There it is. We don't get it. We must and can strike a better balance, intervening with timely and non-ideological measures. On this, finally, I would say that the new government, Italian new government, and in particular the new minister, Francesco Lollobrigida, that I know very well, and with whom I worked for many years, I think will be well oriented. And so I think the job that we will do in the future should be a very good job, because it's joined by all of us I think in the correct way. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Procaccini. So we enter in the topic very, very well right now. Yes, and what you said, that of course the resources are shared, that it's very important to the political instrument as well as the governance and the technological approach. So all the different uses of the seas are very important and need to be implemented together for a sustainable blue economy in general and fisheries too. So thank you very much. And I think that now is the time to go again into detail and listening the point of view of Federpesca. So it's my pleasure to introduce you Stefania Valentini, that is the coordinator of the Federpesca unit in Brussels, and also the project manager of the Master Plan Pesca Somalia project. And Stefania, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Fedra. Thank you very much. Good morning to all. And thank you very much to the Festival of the Diplomacy for this important opportunity. Special thanks to Laurence Martin, because who with great friendship she hosts in this location, so beautiful. Okay, and with me there is Francesca Biondo, the general director of Federpesca, and so I thank you very much. Oh, okay. As you can see in the program, in our agenda, I will try to tell you about our activity we are carrying out in Somalia, which with our activity I will tell about the realization of a fishery master plan in Somalia. And so I want to underline in this workshop that the master plan will represent the guidelines for the next 10 years in Somalia. So, and is possible, yes, to share my presentation, please? Okay. Okay, the next one. Okay, yes, about Federpesca, some words about Federpesca, the Italian National Federation Fishing Company. Federpesca born in 1961 and he's a member of Confindustria. Federpesca Associate represented and progress Italian enterprise and company of the fishing sector. And so represent their enterprise toward Italian public administration, Italian Parliament, and the European Union institution. 2,000 are the enterprise member and of Federpesca. And they are in fishery and in the processing and the marketing of fishery products and the production of nets, equipment and service for fishery shipbuilding and production of plants and equipment. Federpesca is part of the National Fishery Observatory, is part of the Bilateral Fishery Authority. In particular, Federpesca represents the fishing enterprises for the negotiation with the Union of the regular national collective agreements for fisheries workers. Federpesca collaborates with several Italian and European universities. In particular, it has two frameworks, and I wanted to underline for our organization that is very important. Two framework agreements with two Italian research institutes, National Research Council CNR and Stazione Zoologica Anton Dondon, based in Naples. Another Federpesca is member of the Big Blue Italia Growth and Cluster and Maritime Classes, member of the Federazione del Mare Italian Maritime. The mission is to create a national community, to promote an innovation-driven blue growth, to foster the cooperation, and to transfer. And it's very important in this workshop because we work with the several countries about to transfer new technology and skill in research partnership. Federpesca promotes the integration of existing infrastructure and the existing skills. Next one. Okay, yes, let me to say a few important words about the Hope Foundation. Hope Foundation work in close collaboration with Federpesca on international cooperation project in the field of fisheries and aquaculture. And Federpesca and the Hope Foundation now we are working in Somalia about the master plan of fisheries and aquaculture. Hope Foundation and is an NGO as in the Belgian humanitarian private foundation. And with Federpesca, Hope Foundation focuses on two main areas: humanitarian aid for immediate assistance, but it's important support Federpesca about blue growth in support the sustainable development of the local community and environment. Of course, in the fisheries and aquaculture sector, Hope Foundation works with Federpesca. In several projects, Hope Foundation supported the policymakers and working with Federpesca in the context of the international cooperation. And it's possible, yes, the next one? Okay. So finally, I will start talking to you about the master plan in Somalia. Because with our expertise and with our team of Federpesca and Hope, he is working now in Somalia about the master plan. In this slide, you can see some point about the background of the fisheries master plan in Somalia. The first point, FAO is supporting the Somali Fishery Federal Ministry of Fishery and Marine Resources. It's very important this point because Federpesca and the Hope Foundation are working in a close collaboration with the Ministry of the Fishery and Marine Resources. In fact, yes, for example, we have every week a meeting with the ministry about the master plan. And so the second point, the project, of course, is fully in line with the FAO country program framework. The third point, the Somalia National Development Plan. Yes, in this document, in agreement of the Somalia, there is the strategic planning framework for the sector, fishery and aquaculture. Another point, the master plan will be the key document guiding fisheries investment and development in Somalia, and this point, Federpesca is a strategic player for the Somalia country. The activity will contribute to the strengthening of the fisheries sector, and the master plan is a crucial document for all fisheries stakeholders, including donors. In fact, in Somalia, Federpesca participates as a donor together another international organization. The next one, please. Okay, yes. And in this slide, you can see the activity about the realization of the master plan, because the master plan is declined in several chapters. And so in charge to Federpesca, we have chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, 9, 10. And so the chapter 6, legal and policy framework, 7, stock assessment and management. And in this chapter, we are working with the CNR, the Institute of CNR that of the marine resource. Chapter 8, industrial fishing sector, and it's important because our expert of Federpesca, yes, and are working in this topic. About the topic, chapter 9, artisanal fishing sector, and the last, landing sites, harbor and other shore-based infrastructure. In this chapter, for us it's very important because Federazione del Mare and several organizations, members of Federazione del Mare, are working in this topic. Okay, next one. Oh, okay. There are two slides that in this slide you can see the most important topics of our study. And so, because there are a lot of topics, and so I would like. I would not like, yes, to take time. It's possible, yes, to tell fast, but is if you can, I send you my presentation, but so the first topic is current fishery legislation, because in Somalia now the Ministry of Fisheries is working about the draft fisheries bill, and so Federpesca in this law, Federpesca is collaborating in closed with the ministry in this legislation. It's very important because of course the law will take in Somalia development of a fishery. Somalia is member, yes, is part of the Indian Ocean Commission, but you can see. Somalia has never had a large-scale fishing fleet, and so, yes, it's very important that's point, because in Somalia now there are 27 Chinese long lines fishing in Somalia. And this vessel fishing tuna and tuna-like species. But after 20 years of the conflict in Somalia, the sector of fisheries is very in crisis, and so it's possible, yes, to have the in in the context, we are working in the context of the artisanal fisheries, and so, but only the 27 Chinese vessel work in the industrial fisheries, but these vessels don't land the fish in Somalia, but they are land the product in Seychelles, and so it's very on this topic we are working too much. The another point, Somalia artisanal fisheries can be classified into three main categories. And so, because there are a lot of small community along the Somali coast, but this community are not organized in cooperative or enterprise. Okay, thank you. No. So I finished. Yes, the next one. No, the next one, please. Okay. There are a total fishing, 20 fishing cooperative, blah blah, and so you can read in my presentation, but I will send the next one. Okay. Our methodology in our study, yes, and for this reason, yes. We have told, yes, that is fundamental to share the development to the master plan with stakeholders involved the fisheries and aquaculture sector. Okay, for this reason, Federpesca in these 2 years has organized several missions in Somalia. As an organization, organized several consultation workshops and several questionnaires. Has organized technical meeting with the ministry and a lot of stakeholders about the fisheries and aquaculture. And it's important, Federpesca and Hope Foundation organize several meetings with international institutions, NGO, local and international stakeholders like World Bank or European delegation in Somalia. For this meeting and workshop, in order to we listen to the needs, the needs of the sector in Somalia. We have collected information data useful for the development of the master plan and etc. Okay. And so the next one the next slide, please. Oh, okay. Yes, the mission Somalia in Kenya. Yes, we have some photo, but it's not important. Yes, we in this photo, yes, with my colleague Federico Gallas. I think that is online, and thank you too much, Federico. And so in this photo, yes, we have in a meeting with several stakeholders and the fishery in Somalia, and so under with the ministry. Okay. And I think that I finished, yes, my presentation. And so, okay, the strategy priority of Federpesca in Somalia, but it's very, very long, this slide, and so you can see a lot. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, and congratulations for this very relevant and important initiatives. So let's try to wrap up before going forward. So we have seen how much the large-scale impact, large-scale fisheries impacts, and we have seen the diversification of fisheries activities, or the small scale in some places, and how much is important to cooperate worldwide in order to ensure standards, as we are importing much more than to sustain our demand, and also to really dialogue on the same level with the foreign countries. The approach you show us, it's very collaborative. So this engagement of stakeholder, it's very an added value, and really congratulations for this big achievement. And so I will now give the floor to Mr. Abdul Rahman, and that is the attaché of agricultural affairs in the Malaysian embassy. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Excellencies, friends, colleagues. First and foremost, on behalf of the Malaysian Embassy here in Rome, I would like to say thanks to the Festival de la Diplomacia for having me and giving us the opportunity to share our story and contribute in this enriching and interesting discourse. As many of you may be aware, Malaysia has been managing multi-species and multi-gear fisheries. That said, that the measures that we are implementing being primarily input control rather than output control. We implement various management measures. Some of those measures are typical to tropical fisheries, while some measures are very much of our very own measure, uniquely Malaysia's measures in managing fisheries. You know, for instance, the allocation of fishing zone in accordance with gross tonnage, for instance, and engine capacity of vessels are very much unique measures, and there are many other measures, and I can take the whole day to talk about our measures. But in the space of 10 minutes or so, I would like to walk you through very briefly on some of the development of our capture fisheries landscape following the EC-driven measures to combat IUU fishing. Globally, and which have bearings on Malaysia's fisheries landscape. Next, oh, is that my? No. No, the slide is not there. Okay, then I would continue.
I think we can just check. We can wait a couple of minutes just to be sure, and if you prefer. Or maybe you can send it again to Giuseppe.
I can continue if you don't mind. It's up to because we sent to the. Then I would go to what have changed and what are those triggers. you know, that sort of aspire us to initiate changes in the fisheries landscape, capture fisheries landscape in Malaysia. There are two scenarios. One, if the entry into force of the EC regulations 1005/2008 to combat IUU fishing, and the other one is the outcome of series of EC evaluation missions to Malaysia back in 2017 to fight IUU fishing, and the ongoing dialogue that we are having with the EC DG Mare at the moment. So this has sort of been the triggers to some of the key changes in our fisheries, marine capture fisheries landscape. So the changes involves at least in three ways. One is on the legal framework, and the second one is the institutional framework, and the last one is on the operational effectiveness of MCS, monitoring, control, and surveillance, including fisheries management. Let me now move on to the first one, on the legal framework. We know for a fact that legal framework, the EC has always stressed that the fisheries legal framework should consistent with the principle of modern fisheries laws, especially in addressing all aspects required to prevent, deter, and eliminate IUU fishing. So that sort of triggered the first quick amendment to our regulations back in 2009. If you may recall that the EC regulation of 1005 was issued in 2008 and to take effect on 2010. So back in 2009, we made some quick changes to the regulations in order to give recognition to the issuance of catch certificate for products entering EU market at the moment. And then, as you may also be aware of, that fisheries and aquaculture in Malaysia are governed by the Fisheries Act 1985 and a number of subsidiaries regulations. The fact that the Fisheries Act 1985 is a post-UNCLOS 1982 instrument, it therefore recognizes Malaysia's fundamental sovereign rights and obligations under the law of the sea, the rights and obligation of the coastal states with regards to the fishing in the EEZ, the economic exclusive zones. So basically, back in 1985, our legal framework has adequately covered that, the rights and obligations of us being a coastal state. But having said that, however, the Act, we predate some of the key international fisheries instruments, namely the FAO Compliance Agreement 1993, the UN Fish Stock Agreement 1995, and the Port State Measures Agreement in 2009, and therefore lacks the principles of conservation and management measures on the high seas, particularly, and our duty as port state. So these two main elements were sort of lacking in the 1985 legal framework. Further, the Act also, we predates the Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries in which adopted in 1995. So, as you can appreciate that, you know, being a 1985 legal framework in this era, that really merits some review. Now let me get back to you very quickly with regards to the EC Regulation 1005. In 2000, like I said earlier, back in 2009, we amend the regulation to give recognition to the EC, the catch certificate, the issuance of certificate, because our main goal at the time was to make sure that fish trade into the European market can go smoothly. Otherwise, we won't be able to continue exporting into European market at that time. And we continue on with regards to improving our legal framework. The first amendment we concluded in 2019, couple is 2 years back. This following EC regulation as a result of the, again, its emission in 2017. First, we emphasized at that time was the duty of the flag state, our duty as flag state, where we, as you also may know, that Malaysia is a party to the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, and there is a need to strengthen high seas provision in the Act. So clearly in the Act, there is no clear provisions for high seas fishing. And then the EC recommended us to do something with this because according to EC at the time, it is a real need for you to give legal effect to your fishing vessels fishing in the Indian Ocean. But that doesn't mean that we don't have the system in place. We do have. We authorize fishing. We issue authorization to fish in the Indian Ocean, but it's just that it's unclear with regards to the Fisheries Act 1995 to enable to give legal effect to fishing in the Indian Ocean. So EC also noted the inadequacy of the current system of sanction. So EC always emphasized on the sanction system and the severity of the sanctions to deter violations. So those two main issues we tackled in the 2019 amendment, the sanction system as well as the provision of the high seas. And I move on to again on the second amendment, which is ongoing now. It kicked off as early as 2020, and it's ongoing. Thanks to the ongoing dialogue also with the EC. This time around, we're also looking at into a more comprehensive review of the Fisheries Act that include that this area may not necessarily be the interest of EC, like the extension, the statistics, the research. So these are being reviewed and to be improved in the new legal framework. So this time around we're still looking at the penalty scheme, because according to EC, what you have done in 2019 is insufficient. It's still insufficient due to the fact that we don't categorize the sanctions in according to the severity of offenses or violations. So this time around, we're looking at categorize the level of violations to commensurate the level of penalty. So this is ongoing. We're also looking at strengthening this transshipment in national waters, because this is also, according to EC, is inadequate. And there are also, EC also recommended us to look into the prevention of ghost fishing activity, because this is concerning fishing vessels fishing vessels license whose their license were not renewed. And there was a question as to whereabout the vessel, whether or not Malaysia still has control over this vessel. So this is being looked into the second round of amendment. Okay, I think this one. Okay. We're also looking at the technical regulation of VMS, including the alert system. We have been long implementing the vessel monitoring system. This has been long been in place. It's just that during the mission, EC noted that there is no automatic automated alert system whenever a fishing vessel leaves the national water. So, and the second one is the use of technical regulation of VMS in court. The admissibility of a VMS proof in court. So we're also looking at this. So in parallel, again, while we're amending the Mother Act, we're also doing regulations for the VMS, and we're also looking at the regulations to give legal effect to the IOTC resolutions. IOTC has every year issued resolutions, and we have to give legal effect to all these regulations. So these are being looked at in parallel with the amendment of the Act. It is also worth noting at this point in time that the amendment that we are taking, we are carrying out at this moment, based not solely on the recommendations, because back in 2019 we also engaged with FAO under this technical cooperation program facility to conduct analysis to support the combating IUU fishing and implementing the port state measures agreement. So with this, we have basically two sources of recommendations from the FAO as well as from the EC. Okay, next, please. Institutional. Next. Now I would like to move now to the second changes. Next. To the landscape of capture fisheries in Malaysia is the institutional changes, or institutional changes with regards to satisfying the EC recommendations and some other recommendations by FAO in particular. We established what we call the special unit back in the there in the Department of Fisheries, looking specifically at the on the issuance of catch certificate, EC catch certificate. We recruit new staff back in 2009. We recruited new staff, and then we established interagency mechanism for the issuance of the catch certificate. And to address the IUU fishing issue, we formed the two-tier national committee addressing IUU fishing. One is the national committee headed by the Secretary General of Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry, and consists also of various agencies, maritime enforcement agencies and few other agencies. And the second layer is the technical committee looking at the technical part of the IUU fishing. So clearly the IUU fishing has gained sort of the high level attention. And the last one with regards to operational, next. We also addressing some of the operational part of the recommendations. We developed SOP for the issuance of catch certificate and Annex 4, if you're familiar with, and continuously improving it. Because of the dynamic of fish trade and the traceability requirement. So this standard operating procedures, which is the product of multi agencies cooperation back home, is a living document. We're continuously improving this. And it is also important to have an SOP honored by all agencies, because that carries accountability. On every single catch certificate we issue, that accounts responsibility of every single authority involved in its issuance. So that's incumbent upon all authorities in Malaysia to make sure that the accuracy of CC and the authenticity of the CC. Another one is the with regards to the port state measures. We develop SOP. It's also a joint effort of multi agencies with various jurisdictions in Malaysia to handle this. Bearing in mind that we are not a party as yet to the port state measures agreement, but back home this is being looked at. A series of talk with various agencies involving Marine Department and involving port authorities in Malaysia is still ongoing, because to give prior to being or to accede to the port state measures agreement. Another one is the in discharging our duty as the flag state and to have a better control of our fishing fleet, both fish in national waters as well as on the high seas. We implement now the mandatory VMS, of course, and for those fishing in the coastal waters, the application of AIS, the automatic identification system. And we jointly developed what is termed by EC as National Plan Control and Plan and Control and Inspection, where the maritime enforcement agencies have this understanding to conduct inspection at sea, especially, and targeting those vessels who are at risk. I think I come to the last part of my presentation. Also would like to share with you that it is also ongoing as part of our pursuit to achieve sustainable development goals and sustainable fisheries. We now are shifting from the current regime into area species-specific fisheries management plan. This is not easy. In fact, the shift from the current regime to this one is also a big challenge for us. Not many in our region have decided to take this bold step to have a fisheries management. When we talk about species, we may not necessarily refer to every single species, but rather a group of species or group of stock, for instance. And there are 53 fisheries managed plans under development, and of course there are science-based. And one of the key changes or characteristics of this new regime of fisheries management is the decentralization of management. So as opposed to the current practice, all will be decided by at the headquarters level. So with this, we hope that a more effective consultative process to take place right from the local level up to the central level. And it is consistent with the SDG 14, Target 14, to develop the FMP. So with that, I thank you. I would stop there, and I'm happy to receive or to take any question if there is any. I thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Burrahman. I think there are questions online or also please here if you have any comment. Please take the floor. Otherwise, I will give the floor to Federico Gallas from Federpesca, Brussels. Please, Federico.
Hello, good morning to everybody. Let me first greet all of you on behalf of our president, the president of Hope Foundation, Mr. Marcello De Angelis, which was supposed to attend, but unfortunately, COVID is still hitting sometimes with light consequences. But anyway, he couldn't attend. But he's greeting all of you for being here. And actually, I wanted to thank the counselor for his speech, because it was really interesting for us. As Stefania mentioned, we are working on supporting the blue economy in some countries, and actually the path you have been through in these years actually is really interesting for us, because it is exactly what we are supposed to do at the moment with some partner countries. And this is why I wanted to ask if you could help us and go deeper with the process with the European Union in order to export the fish product to Europe. We know that everything starts from a partnership agreement with the European Union and the country. But how does it? What are the steps to actually get the first fish product entering the EU market directly from the partner country? Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Abdul Rahman, I think the question was for you. So, how...
Yes, actually, thanks.
So, how enter, which is the process of entering to the European market, right, Federico?
Yes, yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
First, I'm not so sure if my answer is comprehensive enough, but we can always check in terms of the process. Of course, entering EU market, the catch certificate is not the only requirement. Of course, you have to EC registered. You have to register with the EC and have the EU establishment number as for those premise that exporting into the EU market. You have to satisfy, of course, the food safety standard. That is one. And the other one is, of course, the catch certificate. It has to be accompanied with catch certificate, as well as far as I understand, the certificate of origin, the COO. Because I understand some of the fisheries product, that depends on whether or not you have bilateral preferential trade with EU. But as far as Malaysia's product, fish product is concerned, there are some products which are still subject to tariff. So that's why you require the COO as a prerequisite. And with regards to other some other requirement back home, like if I understand correctly, and I stand to be corrected on this, and I also would want to find further on this, is you have to have the export license, and that is that is governed by another entity, the Fisheries Development Authority of Malaysia. Is handling, is doing the registration for exports license, they call it. Again, the permit it's very much if we deal with live fish, but if it is not live fish, then you don't have need health certificate. So, as far as I'm concerned, the COO, the catch certificate, and the food safety authorization, and of course you have to have an established EC number. I can check this out further, and we can have a communication further to really satisfy your questions. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So if there are no more questions on this topic, I will pass the floor to Mr. Valentino Giuliani, Project Manager of the Blue Growth for Lazio Innova, that has a very large experience on project, mainly at the Mediterranean level, on which we personally collaborated in the past and ongoing, hopefully. So please, Valentino, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Fedra. Last slide. Thanks, Fedra. I come to explain to you Lazio Innova Blue Growth Policy about fishery and how we support the small and medium enterprises to reach the European standard and certificates. Well, no, questa è la Somalia. Eccolo qui. Our Lazio Region Blue Growth Policy is within, it's between, ecco qua. Allora, the context that we develop our policy is the European Blue Growth Strategy, Italian Blue Growth Strategy, and the last line, but it's very important, the national cluster. And after we see why. And the second one, another one, please. The main fishery action of Lazio Region Blue Growth Policy are smart specialization strategy, blue economy, new regional law about blue economy, maritime special planning, and then cluster big. This year, Lazio Region issued a new law about blue economy and include for the first time fishery. We have the S3, the Smart Specialization Strategy. It's very important because for the first time we include blue economy. We have the Maritime Spatial Planning and the Cluster Big. Cluster Big, it's the only one blue economy national cluster recognized by Italian government. And it includes big players like Eni, like Fincantieri, the main Italian university, the main Italian scientific organization like CNR, Enea. And we are also already involved in some European project, Interreg Med project, some project with Fedra, with CNR, about fishery, like Blue Biomed. The next one, please. So we start with the smart specialization strategy. The new 21-27 smart specialization strategy for the first time in the 9 focus specialization areas include blue economy. You can see we have two specialization areas strongly linked with fishery, agri-food and the blue economy. Next one, please. We developed the program about the smart specialization strategy for 21-27 last year. We started in May with 9 focus groups. 2 focus groups are about agri-food and blue economy. We involved 1,000 and about 300 stakeholders, and we reach from the stakeholder about 300 technical proposals to develop the trajectory of the smart specialization strategy. We take from the National Cluster Action Plan the trajectories of the S3. The next one, and we take from the Blue Italian Grow, the Blue Economy Cluster, and the CLAN. CLAN is the the only one agri-food cluster recognized by the Italian government. So we go on to show to you the vertical themes and the transversal themes of the Blue Italian Growth Cluster. Please, the next one. Please. Okay, on trajectory 2, we have technological area 2, 1 point, fishery. Development of technology for fishery in traceability and certification. And the other, development of innovative control and monitoring system, again, fish poaching. Fish poaching, do you know it's illegal catch fish? I listen my Malaysian colleagues about the monitoring and surveillance against poaching. So we support, we give economic support in the next months with some calls to develop this action. Please, the next. These are the trajectory of the agri-food. Agri-food is a cluster clan. We have 3 important trajectories and action for reach the European standard for aquaculture and for fish import. We have integrity and traceability of the supply chain, implementation of technology for food safety, and quality and safety integrated management. So in the next months, start the course. Please, the next. Other many important action Lazio regions is involved is maritime spatial planning. Maritime spatial planning is a European directive. We are involved with Lazio, Liguria, Tuscany, Sardinia, Sicily, Calabria, and Basilicata about the Mediterranean Sea to plan the use of the sea, tourism, coastal tourism, cruises line, natural protected areas, and fishery, aquaculture. So it's very important to reach the European standard because we locate the AZA. The AZA are the areas for aquaculture, so we can know the fish where came. So it's very important. It's very important because the AZA can give food safety for the final consumer. I go quickly. I see you so tired, so I go quickly. We are here for any info about the Lazio region policy for the next call, for the next project. We are involved in the call at the end of October in Interreg in 2 projects. So everyone want info or want collaborate in partnership with us, we are here. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Valentino. If there are any comments or questions, please take the floor. Otherwise, we invite Mr. Lorenzo Giovanni Magnolo from, that is not here in presence, but is online, so just please check. Are you there?
Good morning.
Thank you very much. The General Headquarters of the Port Authorities. Thank you very much, Lorenzo, and welcome, even if virtually. So we talk about many topics dealing with the standards and fishery, and Mr. Abdul Rahman also talked about the security. So I think this will be your topic, so the control. So please take the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organization for the invitation, and on behalf of the Commandant General and the colleagues of the Italian Coast Guard, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak about our control system. I will try to share my screen so I can go through the presentation without disturbing anyone. Let's see if I'm able. Okay, let's maybe better to go with your presentation because.
Yes. Can you see the screen?
Yes, thank you very much. So, next slide, please. Yeah, the previous speaker have highlighted the importance of the fisheries activity, and as fisheries is not the only responsible for the actual situation, the current situation of the sea. But of course, in the European rules, there are, as reminded already, strict control, inspection and enforcement provision. But however, those provisions, those activities shall be carried out on a non-discriminatory basis with regards to the stakeholders, the master of the fishing vessel, or the person involved in the fisheries-related activity. And of course, these activities shall be based on risk management and risk analysis. In order to promote the level playing field between operators and controllers. Next slide, please. According to European Regulation 1224 of 2009, the so-called control regulation, member states are obliged to define and to draft national control programs which are applicable to different fishing activities. Normally, those national control plans are drafted according to the instruction, the guidance of the European Commission through a European Commission decision on SKIP, which means specific control and inspection programs, which detail the main activity, the core business, as well as some benchmarks in accordance with the risk assessment or the risk management exercise I spoke before, which includes a minimum level of sea inspection, port inspection, market inspection, and of course also some activities as aerial surveillance. Of course, these benchmarks are not fixed but are revised periodically anytime there is the need to change it, to amend it, to update according to the analysis of the results of the previous years. Next slide, please. How it's the control organization in Italy? According to Article 5.5 of the regulation I mentioned before, there is, in any member states, there is national competent authority. In Italy, this competent authority is the Ministry of Agricultural, Food and Forestry Policies. The name has changed, we know, but officially still the name is MIPAF. In the ministry, especially the Directorate General for Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture, which is so the national competent authority for control on fisheries activities. The Directorate General avails of the Italian Coast Guard headquarters for the implementation and also the coordination of the control activities with two departments. The third department of the Italian Coast Guard headquarters, which is plan and operations, and the Maritime Fisheries Department, which is based physically in the same building of in the ministry, in the ministry premises in the same building of the Directorate General, which also works as a technical support. Regarding the coordination of the activity, the third department has two separate and specific offices. One is the Italian Fisheries Control Center, CCNP in Italian, and the Fisheries Monitoring Center, FMC. Next slide, please. So in the previous slides, I spoke about risk management, planning, benchmarks, priorities, etc. And this is the result. You can see on the left part of the slide that there is the front page of the National Control Plan, which includes several chapters according to the different fishing includes several chapters related to different fishing activities and fishing species. Of course, at the end of the exercise, you will have the monitoring, control, and surveillance activity, which is split in three main directions. Sea control, which are carried out at sea with the use of fisheries patrol vessel. Ashore, fisheries inspector acting at the moment of the landing or in the market. But also remote monitoring through a digital platform which name is Jano. As you know, maybe Jano is a Greek or Latin or Roman god who has two phases, to have a site or on every places. So is how to say, a wish to be able to control as much as we can this activity. Next slide, please. So those are the means that Italy implements for the control activities. We have 515 naval units which are located in different ports, around 100 different ports alongside the Italian coasts, in which we can discriminate between long-range patrol vessels, which have several weeks of patrol activities in a row, or medium range and short range for coastal inspection. And we also have 4 fixed wings, 15 helicopters, which are located in 4 different aerial bases. Of course, we are also around 11,000 people. Not all of us are specialized in fisheries control, but all the officer and PT officer receive a training on fisheries matter. Next slide, please. But of course, when we speak about standards, European standards, we cannot forget high standard level of inspection. So in order to be updated to the last innovation, fisheries is a matter which has very continuous updates, several times in a year also, in some specific cases. Therefore, the inspectors cannot rely on the previous year information or knowledge, because for sure something has changed in the meanwhile. So the Italian Coast Guard organized several courses for the national inspectors to become union inspectors, so that people who can be, deployed in inspection in member states' territories as observer, of course, because according to the European rules, the enforcement power belongs only to the inspectors with the nationality of the member states in which the inspection is carried out. But the Union inspector can inspect European Union flagged vessels, fishing vessels, when in European waters or in ICs. Therefore, the first step is, after the basic, is the advanced training course to get the habilitation in as union inspectors, and there is a next step, which is the advanced training course to get the habilitation as RFMOs, ICAT and GFCM, namely because Italy has only one vessel operating in the Indian Ocean, in the IOTC area, which was mentioned before. So for the time being, we do not have any type of RFMO inspection for such a management organization. So at the end, up to the end of last month, in Italy, we had 242 union inspectors, 140. You can go back to the previous one. Yes. Of course, in order to be able to control a fleet of more than almost 12,000 fishing vessels, the use of digital platform is crucial. In Italy, we have this platform Giano, as said before, which is a GIS interface, which is linked fed with other database such as Pelagos for the AIS, CIAN for the VMS, or for the sales note, the landing declaration, catching declaration, etc., but also other sources from outside the Italian administration. Next, please. So, the Giano platform is managed by the Italian Fisheries Control Center, which is based in Rome in the premises of the Italian Coast Guard headquarters. But in Italy, we have 15 regional or control sub-centers, as you prefer, which are spread alongside the Italian coast from Genoa to Trieste, passing through the two main islands, Sardinia and Sicily, in which we have 2 per each region. And also the peripheral structure of the Coast Guard is very capillary, and we have almost 250 maritime offices on the territory, which are in charge of the control at the local levels. Next, please. So the main task of the National Control Center is the coordination of inspection activities. Of course, as mentioned before, the import of fishing products is very high in Italy. The national production doesn't cover the demand, and the big majority of fishing products come from non-EU countries. So the fight against the IUU fishing is a very important topic for us. And of course, I saw a mistake in the slide, sorry. These activities linked with the organization of a specific operation in a specific period. For example, during December, close to the Christmas festivity, the consumption of fishing products increased a lot in Italy, and therefore In that period, for the whole month of December, our colleagues are involved in control to assure the quality of the food for the Italian retailers. Of course, what is important to mention is that Italian Coast Guard, as well as the competence on the whole chain of the fishing activity. So we say from the net to the plate. This is a slogan which was used in the past to highlight the overall competence of the Italian Coast Guard alongside the control of the fishing activities chain. Of course, as mentioned before, the drafting of the National Control Plan is on the National Control Center. And of course, the standardization of the inspection procedure, because when we speak about standards, of course, one expectation of the European Union is that the level of inspection should be equal everywhere in the member states, but also within the member states. It's not fair for the stakeholders to be treated differently if they are inspected in Italy rather than in another member states, or if they are inspected in a specific region of Italy rather than the others region. So the goal is the standardization for reaching the level playing field for all, as I mentioned in my first slide. Of course, the National Fisheries Control Center is also in charge of the risk analysis and risk management, which goes to the European Fisheries Control Agency to be part of the regional risk assessment, and of course is in charge of the training of the inspectors, the management of the regional platform, as I said before, and the participation in the national activities, international activities. But I will go on this topic afterwards. So next slide, please. Regarding the Fisheries Monitoring Center, which is also based in the Italian Coast Guard headquarters premises, the center is in charge 24/7. So is always there is always somebody who's in front of a screen to have a look. Sharp lookout to all fishing vessels wherever they operate, and also on fishing vessels transiting in Italian territorial water and in the coming soon EEZ. And of course, the FMC is in close connection and continuous connection with the other fisheries control center of the other member states, and also with the European Fisheries Control Agency, EFCA. On the left part, you can see a new tool, which is ABM system, is automatic behavior monitoring. So there is a platform which, according to the information on the course and speed of a fishing vessel, create automatic alerts which are sent to the Fisheries Monitoring Center of the member states to have a closer look to the situation. Normally, this activity is linked with the transit.
Sorry, Dr. Magnolo, I need to ask you to go to the conclusion, as we are very...
Okay,
yes,
we are
sorry
running
for...
out of time. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to the next. These are something that we have already mentioned. The activities are focused on the SCIP, the Specific Control Inspection Program of the European Commission, and includes all of these issues: illegal fishing gear, restricted areas, protected species, technical measure, landing obligation, Go, next. And as I said before, the competencies all change from the landing to the restaurant. Go to the next. And of course, the importance of the fight against IUU fishing, in which Italy is one of the main actors in Europe. Next. And as I said before, the cooperation of EFCA. Why is important the cooperation of EFCA? It's important to promote, as I said before, to foster the achievement of high standard level of inspection, and try to, I'd say, to export this level, this activity to the neighbor country in the Mediterranean especially. So Italy is very, very active in the implementation of the pilot project within the General Fisheries Commission for the Mediterranean, for the establishment of international joint inspection and surveillance scheme, in which European inspectors participate in control and inspection activities together with their colleagues of non-EU countries in order to have an exchange of experience, exchange of best practices, and transparency. That's all for my side. Thank you very much again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that, yes, maybe we can share also the slide for specific comments. So thank you everybody for this very interesting talk this morning. I would like to thank you again, Nicola Procaccini, European Deputy, for being here. Thank you very much. And that is attending for another commitment, so thank you again. And before closing, we go ahead for the next speaker, Abul Malik. Sorry for.
No, actually, thank you very much, Fedra. It was actually just want to say a few things, but before I want to acknowledge, of course, Mr. Nicola, and to be honest, the next question is coming to you actually. But since you're leaving, if I can just get your views on this, I was really struck by your statement that says that, you know, you need to strike a balance between, of course, the lives of the fishermen and, of course, the livelihood, and with the non-ideological matters, which I mean, you rightly said so. While we implement measures and standards, you have to look also at how this affects the fishermen on the ground, you know, and many of these instruments are being put in place now. So just your comments on it, because I thought that was very interesting, your view in terms of trying to find a balance. It's timely. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm really late. What I can say you in few words is that the rules are important, and the respect of the rules, of course. For fishing, the rules are the way they do their work, and the agreement between different fisheries is important for the development of the sector. I think that the agreements are we needed to develop the sector, and also to assure the security, the healthy of the food, in this case the fish. I think that if we have a good dialogue, we can have a good agreement, and we can help the workers to do their best. So I'm sorry, but I'm really late. But I'm available to dialogue again with you, and not only in this context, but whenever you want. Thank you very much, and take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. thank you again to Nicola Procaccini, and I would also take the occasion to thank all the speakers here, Mr. Eugenio Sgro and Abdullah Rahman for being here, and Lazio Nova, of course, and our host, Confitarma, in this very beautiful place. I think we all agree. And last but not least, I would like to thank Federpesca for the big effort in this internalization and cooperation within the fishery sector, and personally, because sorry, just let me conclude from the research perspective. And it's very important to bring innovation into action, and collaboration and cooperation among different stakeholders. It's very important and relevant in order to address this common challenge. And with most of you, and particularly with Federpesca, we work very closely to bring innovation on the field or on the sea. So thank you again, and look forward to the next festival. Thank you.